My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer. All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about hardships and difficult times, right? Ultimately, we all face them, right? If we haven't faced them, we will. And if we have faced them, we will, right? Like it's one of those things, you go through difficult times and you will continue to go through difficult times, especially if you're on a growth journey, especially if you're trying to make major shifts in your life, whether it's finances, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, any aspect of your life that you're trying to change, you're going to experience those difficulties. We talked about that in that episode, a few episodes back on resistance, right? It's necessary. It's a necessary part of the journey. Sometimes, however, these roadblocks, these hurdles that you face along your path can seem incredibly insurmountable, right? It can seem overwhelming. And you lose hope, right? You start to get road weary. You know, you're putting in all this work, you're slogging away, you're grinding to try to make progress in that particular avenue of your life, in that particular sector of your life, and because it takes a lot of inertia and energy and effort to make those changes, every time we face a difficulty, it can feel harder and it feel more and more impossible. And then you stack on top of that, everything else that we have to do in our lives. And you stack on top of that, it's the holiday season right now. As of this recording, we're getting into the holiday season. And I think universally, around the world, regardless of whatever your religion or faith or belief system is, it's a time of year that generally everybody celebrates, and we have extra obligations on top of what we currently already do and have to do in our lives. And so all of this stuff stacked on top of each other can really feel overwhelming, and it feel impossible. And part of you will want to give up because of how hard it is, right, and how difficult things are, especially again because the early part of any shift or journey will seem like you're not making any progress, right? You have to build that inertia. Well, you have to exert a lot of energy and effort up front to change the inertia, and then to start getting momentum in the direction that you want to go. But that first 45, 60 days, maybe even 90 days of any journey is going to feel like a slog. It's going to feel really difficult, and it's going to feel like you're standing still. So the tendency is that you're gonna want to give up, right? With all the stuff that you're stacked on top of each other in our lives, it's gonna feel almost futile, right? Like you're putting in all this work and you're putting in all this effort and you're grinding and nothing seems to be happening. Now, I want you to know that just because it doesn't feel like you're making forward progress doesn't mean that you're not making forward progress, right? There's imperceptible. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. You're making imperceivable. Man, that's a weird one. You're making progress, whether you know it or not. That's what we'll say. That's how we'll phrase it. It may not feel like it, but you are. And I love in a recent episode of Jasmine Star. This was from her episode that released November 24th. One of her messages was, it can suck, it can feel tough, it can feel like you're not making any headway, but just understand the fact that you're still around and that you're still doing it and that you're showing up every day, you've already won. You've already won. So that's really one of the messages I wanted to leave with you today. And then the other thing was, both Jasmine Star and this other podcast that I've listened to recently from Brendan Burchard. It was from his November 23rd episode. It's really, for me, when I'm facing really all this, it's seemingly insurmountable difficulty, and when I feel like I'm not making any progress, when I feel like I want to give up, and because nothing seems to be working, what I tend to do is just keep flooding my brain, flooding my mind with personal development. And that's one of the reasons why I'm on this podcast kick right now. I have been on a podcast kick for the last 2 months, seeking out new things. And you will actually, that's another side message, is that you will need to seek out new perspectives and differing perspectives outside of what you're already used to if you want to make some shifts, right? But the main thing is just fill your head with personal development, fill your head with good messages, and that will be enough to counter counter all that negative self-talk, all the talk in your mind that's telling you that you should give up or that you want to quit. There are other people that have been through similar situations as you, especially like, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but with any kind of personal development or growth journey. We may not have been through exactly what you've been through, but we can relate, right? And so understand that whatever difficulty that you're facing, again, especially moving into this holiday season, whatever difficulty you might be facing, you can get through it. You are getting through it, and just keep showing up every day, because if you do that, you've already won. You've already won. So keep filling your head with all the good stuff. Again, like I'll do another podcast roundup pretty soon in the near future, so that you guys, I can share with you guys what I'm currently listening to right now. But seek it out. I've just kind of, my what's amazing about the podcasting and algorithms and things like that is that it knows what to recommend you, right? So a lot of the podcasts that I'm discovering for myself recently have just been on the recommended list. So, just start seeking out the specific things that's on your mind, things that you feel might support you. And once you see these things, you'll start, certain titles, certain episode titles, certain show titles will call to you. I actually had the same kind of methodology when it comes to books. When I'm looking for a new book, throughout my whole entire adult life, on this personal development journey, when it was time to get a new book, I would just peruse the bookstore, like when bookstores are still a thing, and see what titles would call out to me in the self-development, personal development, self-help, aisles of the bookstore. I would see, okay, this resonates with me. I'd read the description. The description resonates with me. This must be something that I need at this moment in my life. So same thing with podcasts. But again, I will share with all of you, my podcast roundup of stuff that I'm listening to lately. The main thing is, if you are going through difficulties right now, if you're facing a tough time, if things seem insurmountable and impossible, keep listening to great things. Keep putting great things in your mind, because that showing up is the most important thing. And as long as we can help keep you going every day, you've already won. So that's my message for today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow with a fresh new episode. Until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you tomorrow.